So I came across this property here, this multifamily property here in Columbus, Ohio, and I thought it was a great opportunity of a property that actually pencils, that where the numbers actually work, which is rare in today's market. So I wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys an example of a property that underwrites. I was actually getting ready to submit an offer on this one until I realized it's already under contract, which tends to happen with properties when the numbers work. They tend to get picked up quickly or get bid up. But I'm curious to see what this one will end up trading at. But I want to go run the numbers with you guys, show you guys, how I came to the conclusion that this may be a good property to put an offer on. Now, I didn't do the full underwriting. I'm going to do that with you guys here. But I did do a quick back of the napkin math that told me there's possibility that this is a good deal. But let's do some full underwriting, okay? So here we have, my underwriting spreadsheet. I'll link to it in the description below so you can get yourself a copy and follow along if you'd like or use it for future deals. But I like to compare the current with the most likely stabilized. Now there's hundreds of ways you can do this. Sometimes if it's a deal, if it's a big value add deal, I might have scenario one, scenario two. So you can go as deep with this as you want. But let's go in and enter the details. But before we do that, let's look at this property. So it's a 12-unit apartment building in Columbus, Ohio, 800,000, 66,000 per unit. So it's definitely a Class C building here. I'm guessing it's going to be an older-ish build. Let's see when this thing was built. Where is it? 1959 build. They say it was renovated in 2010. So let's go over here and run the numbers. Look at this attachment, Matthews. I used to be with them. I used to actually be a broker with Matthews. Let's see here. Property details. So they're currently averaging 824 a month in rents. Let's see, is it all one bedroom? It's all one bedroom, one bath. All right, let's go and they're already getting 1,100 on some of these units. That's good. That shows us proof of concept. That means we know that we could drive all of these rents up to 1,100 because they're already getting these rents. So let's go in here. So first, let's fill out the current. So they're asking 800,000, and I'm going to keep the asking at 800,000 or the purchase. I mean, sometimes I'll lower 100,000. Sometimes what I'll do is if I think the price is high, I'll play with different purchase prices to see at what price I can come in with an offer. But I think this 800,000 is going to be pretty good. If not, I can come back when I'm done with my underwriting and adjust that purchase price number. It's 12 units. I'm going to have to put 25% down, maybe even 30 in today's market. I'm not going to get interest only. Repairs and leasing commissions. Now this is hard. Now because this is residential, just repairs. You don't have to pay leasing commissions on filling apartments. But the repairs, it's hard to say. Now what I see here is a B class building, or sorry, a C class building. Now the good news is it's in a great market. The Columbus market is exploding right now. They don't have a lot of photos, so it's really hard for me to say, but they're all occupied. I don't have a bunch of vacant units where I'm going to have to do probably a major electrical and plumbing, probably not. So I'm going to estimate, I feel pretty comfortable saying 5 grand a unit. Now I could be off. This is what happens with multifamily, is that you have to make an assumption, not just multifamily, all value add commercial real estate. You have to make assumptions in order to make an offer. You have to make a guess. Your guess could be off, it could be over, it could be under. You're going to find out during the due diligence period. Once you get this property locked up under contract, that's when you're going to go get an inspection. You're going to get contractors out there, and that's when you're going to do your full homework to figure out what this repairs is. Now, based on my experience, I know a light renovation is anywhere from 5 to 7 grand if you're just kind of putting paint on it, maybe changing out some of the appliances, cleaning up maybe some patchwork on the walls. That might cost you, 5 to 7 thousand. If you have to do bigger ones where you got to clean up the cabinets and maybe you got to put flooring, that could cost anywhere from 10 to 15 grand. But let's assume 7 grand a unit times 12 is $84,000 cleaning this building up. So you're gonna have to put the down payment in order to take this deal down. You're gonna have to bring the down payment, the repairs, and the estimated closing costs. Now, closing costs are about 2 to 3% of the deal. This auto calculates there, which makes sense. Is like a little under 3% of the deal in closing cost. So average rents. So right now they're getting, what was it, 824? Let's see what it said here. And this should actually be times 12. I'm always cleaning up the calculator. So the one I give you, because this is mostly most of this is for commercial, but so we have here right now they're collecting 118,656. Let's see if that, they're getting 9,885. 985 times 12, so they're getting $118,000 per month currently collected. Other income, there probably isn't any other income. I mean, I don't see here any other income like laundry income or parking income. With a building this size, you're probably just going to be collecting the rents. Okay, so now the stabilized one, so this auto populates everything for the stabilized, but the stabilized is going to be 1100 a unit. Now I'm also want to go and verify that. I'll actually do that in front of you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to verify these rents by going here. That does sound a little high, even though it's a good part. It's a very growing market. And let's look up 1 bedroom for rent apartments. So it doesn't show me condos and things like that. Trulia, let's see what we got. Yeah, I had a feeling this 1100 is actually on the higher end. Let's see why. So in deeper details here, it looks like they have their home full up to 7 rent with stable tenancy, including leases through home full and Section 8. So if you're gonna get, so the strategy with this building would be Section 8. You'd go in Section 8 the whole building. You'd be getting 1100. To be honest, I'm not even sure what home full is. I definitely got to do some homework there and figure out how they're getting these 1100s. But they already have 1100 units at 1100 bucks. So that makes me feel confident. If they didn't have any units at 1100, I probably wouldn't be putting that in there. But they've already shown proof of concept at 1100. So you can go in home full or Section 8, this whole building, and get 1100 on the whole thing. So we got 1100. That's going to bring the income up to 158. We got vacancy and concessions. Now, depending on the market, I'll raise and lower the vacancy metric. But this is a strong market, Columbus, Ohio, so I feel comfortable at 3% vacancy. If this was a less populated part of Ohio, like Dayton or another tertiary market, I'd probably go up to 5. But I consider Columbus a secondary market, so I'll probably stay at 3. And so now we're going into the expenses. Now a lot of people ask me, how do you run the numbers on the expenses before you purchase the property? And we use something called an expense ratio. So I'm going to figure out all of these costs, actual costs, once I'm under contract, and I'm going to go in and figure out what am I going to spend on advertising, what am I going to spend on gas, what am I going to spend on insurance and taxes. I'm not going to dive all into that all right now. I'll do that when I'm under contract. I'm just trying to see, do I have enough information here to confidently put an offer on the building where I know I'll make some money? So I go in here and I can plug in expense ratios, but once I start putting in numbers here, that'll override it and take the expenses. Now for multifamily property, it's anywhere between, a new build, you'll have very little expenses, maybe 35-30% expense ratio, and a super old building, that's not updated, will probably closer to 50. This one I'm gonna take it to 45. It's a B class, C class building, but they say they did upgrades in 2010. Again, once I'm under contract, I'm gonna fill all this out. It'll usually end up between the 40 and 50% expense ratio mark. That means 40 to 50% of this, I guess technically of this, is going to go out as expenses. All right, so that brings us to a net operating income of 62,650. Now this is my debt service, because keep in mind we took a $600,000 mortgage here, so that means we need to pay that back every month. We have to make payments to the bank. So I know I'm going to get about a 7.5 interest rate, which is the current interest rate environment for multifamily properties. I know I'm going to get a 20-year amortization, maybe a 25-year amortization if I call around enough banks. So that means over a 20-year period at a 7.5 interest rate, my mortgage is going to be around, almost 5K a month, maybe 4,800 a month. So that means at a 7 cap, I'm going to put it at a 7.5. I think Columbus is 7.5 mark. And now, if you're not sure, you can also go here to figure out what the cap rate is for that area, so you can get a value. So I have here, there's a tool here that I like to use. I'll also link it to this one. This is a free NAR tool to figure out what cap rates are. And let's wait for that to load. Let's go to Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio, and let's go. Once that loads, let's go down to multifamily. Where's multifamily? There it is, multifamily cap rates. Oh wow, 6.8 is the average multifamily cap rate. So I'm actually going to take this to 7.25. So I'm still going higher than with the NAR tool. You don't want to go all the way down to what they're having, because a lot of the data they're collecting is from higher end properties that have to report cap rate and NOI and all that stuff. So I'll always add about a quarter of a point to a half a point to the NAR tool. especially if it's a B class, if it's a C class building. B class, I might get closer. A class, I might even go lower than this cap rate number here that they're giving me for the where is it? Where's the cap rate? There it is for the multifamily market in Columbus, Ohio. 7.25. That puts the current value at 864 based on NOI and cap rate, and then the stabilized value at 1.1. So instantly that tells me there's a good spread here between this and this. That means there's room to make money. There's room to make money between the asking price of 800,000 and the stabilized value of 1.1 million. That's a green flag for me. Okay, so now I already know that there's room in this deal for me to make some money. Now I got to go in, I got to get this thing under contract and verify all the details. I got to make sure that what their current expenses are and what my current expenses will be after I take ownership. I also got to verify this number right here, repairs and leasing commissions. Okay, and then you can dive into the other tabs here. This is not going to be a syndication, and then we're going to use scenario 2. So once this thing is stabilized, these will be your metrics. So you have pretty good metrics once you stabilize this building here. You'll get a 23% average annual return. Your total return on investment 75 with an IRR of 23%. Now you don't want to get too excited about these numbers until you verify everything here. But with enough information here, I'm confident enough to go put an offer on this property, get it under contract, and really start doing my homework. Start going through my due diligence checklist, which I'll also have in the description below. I'm trying to give you guys all the resources here. So on my due diligence checklist, which I'll even pull up, I know what I need to do. These are all the stuff I want to check when I'm under contract. I want to verify the rents. I want to get the profit and loss from the seller. And I'm just going down all of these just to gather all the information from the seller so that I can accurately plug it into here and feel confident about the deal. And then you can jump into the different tabs here. And I have my exit strategy as I like to do a 2-year refinance and then a 4-year sale. So that I can see here, okay, when I refinance, how much am I going to be getting back? And then when I sell, what my profit will look like. So here, when I refinance the property, I'll be getting 82% of the money I put in. So in order to buy this property, you got to put in 321. So in order to buy the property, you put in 321, and then in my refinance, I'm going to get back 263. So I'll still have $57,000 left in the deal. But that is great. It means I picked up a 12 unit in Columbus, Ohio, and my total out of pocket was 57,000 once I refinance and get most of my capital back. So to me, this is a good deal. And then when I refinance, I'll get the rest of my other 57 back, and I'll get 175 on top of it as my profit on the deal. And this 263 that I get back in year 2 is tax free. So that is a huge plus right there. So this is how I run the numbers on the deal. This is how I get comfortable enough to start placing offers. A lot of people want all the information before they place offers, but then that's how properties end up under contract before you're even able to really do your homework. So it's impossible to gather all the information before you're under contract. You just make sure you have a good due diligence inspection period in your contract so that if the numbers don't work out or you're unhappy with the deal, you're nervous about the deal, you can back out during the due diligence period. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to quickly go over the kinds of things I look for when I'm purchasing a commercial property or a multifamily property, how I quickly run the numbers and get comfortable enough to put an offer in. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, got some value out of this. Like, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. I'm going to be coming out with a lot of shorts and a lot of videos about my adventures growing a commercial real estate portfolio and retiring, building wealth through commercial real estate. I'll catch you guys on the next one.